Our first community-based internship presentation is from the Mayor's Partnership for Progress. This group began meeting in 1995 from the vision of several regional mayors. In 1996, they were formally incorporated as the Mayor's Partnership for Progress, signing an agreement for technical assistance with Ohio University. The organization later became a nonprofit in 2003. Ohio University's Voinovich School for Leadership and Public Service continues to provide ongoing capacity support for this important mayoral consortium. The Mayor's Partnership for Progress brings together mayors and city managers from cities and villages throughout Appalachian Ohio to share information and resources and tackle common issues faced by municipalities throughout the region. In this way, they address regional priorities that impact each of their respective communities and advocate for policy change to improve the region's resilience. The Mayor's Partnership for Progress has three primary functions. One, in sharing of information, concerns, advice, and resources. Second, they act as an informal forum regarding issues of potential impact and technical assistance. And third, they act as a platform for local leaders to communicate with political stakeholders. Their membership include municipalities in 17 southeastern Ohio counties and include Athens, Gallia, Highland, Hocking, Jackson, Lawrence, Meigs, Monroe, Morgan, Muskingum, Noble, Perry, Pike, Ross, Scioto, Tuscarawas, Vinton, and Washington counties. Their impact directly touches 4 Ohio University campus communities. This is the Mayor's Partnership for Progress's second year participating in the community-based internship program, and we're thrilled to introduce our speakers. The Mayor's Partnership for Progress President and Mayor of the City of Athens, Steve Patterson. Mayor's Partnership for Progress member and former President, Mayor of the Village of Amesville, Gary Gooseman. Senior in Bachelor of Science in Communications from Scripps College of Communication, Margot Hohenstein, and Junior of Bachelor of Science in Communication Studies and Public Advocacy from the Scripps College of Communication, Caitlin Cummings.
Some of the core functions, and the core functions, really, this is just a spotlight on some of the different functions when it comes to the Mayor's Partnership for Progress. I'm going to jump to the third bullet that you see, and that is that the Mayor's Partnership really is a great platform in which municipalities, large and small, also work shoulder to shoulder with different state level functions, the Treasurer's Office, the Attorney General's Office, the Office of Budget and Management, as well as working with our state legislators and other organizations such as the Southeast Ohio Public Energy Council, which is a electric aggregation. So on multiple levels, we come together and are kind of a one-stop shop to where us as civic leaders have the ability to engage with all echelons of elected officials, to include federal, where we have our state senators or representatives, federal, or Senator Brown and Senator Portman's representatives come to these meetings as well. However, we still find ourselves in a position to where we certainly need assistance on a lot of different issues that we deal with. Next slide, please. And I'll turn it to Gary.
One of the things is the Mayor's Partnership has always had a close relationship with Ohio University. Mayor Patterson mentioned it goes back 25 years. Initially, before there was a Voinovich School of Public Administration, we were in an entity, ILGARD, which was the Institute for Local Government and Resource Development. So we have a long history with Ohio University working together and now fall under, as a liaison, the Voinovich School. But as Mayor Patterson mentioned, we are a 501c3 representing those mayors, and we have no paid employees. So what's invaluable is having internships, volunteers. For the last 3 years, we've had VISTA placements from National Service Program, Volunteers in Service to America. So that's another aspect of how we built capacity, by being able to utilize resources beyond the meager resources that we have within our own organization. But as you can see from the slide here, that mayors need help in raising funds through grant writing, economic development, advanced technology, with audits, infrastructures. My own personal experience, I've been mayor of Amesville for 9 years. And when I first joined the Mayor's Partnership, because the prior mayor had recommended it, I had no experience in terms of the activities running council, all the different responsibilities one has in a municipality as being the mayor. And the big thing for me was be able to be mentored and have resources who I can call. Everybody was open, said, give me a call if you have questions. And so that was one of the most valuable things about the partnership. Next slide, please.
And within the Mayor's Partnership, there were a lot of community priorities that Margot and I were tasked with handling. Some of the biggest projects that we partook in was doing broadband expansion research, like Mayor Patterson had explained. Broadband infrastructure and connectivity is something that is very important to have, especially in the region, something that is not infrastructurally very present right now. So we did a very extensive state-by-state research combing through, I'm trying to remember which organization it was, but something that one of our supervisors, Amista, had sent to us, and Margot and I were able to go and produce a 50-page document sort of showing what each state had put in place, different bills that they had passed, different tax audits that they had done. We also were doing some researching for various audit training opportunities, especially video resources that were available, something that if people were not able to go and do in-person audit training because of the pandemic, some resources that were online and available for them. We also were working along with SOPEC to do updating of census data on a bi-weekly basis to make sure that there was being an accurate representation of the amount of people within the Mayor's Partnership region, to ensure that there was an adequate representation, so that way they could get the funding that was required for the next 10 years, especially to help with some of these projects like broadband expansion. We also were doing some childcare researching just to see what sort of childcare access there was for parents, especially those who were still required to go to work during the pandemic. We also were working with Mr. Jack Freck, contacting JFS and Community Action Agency offices to try and find any sort of financial resources that they had available for utility billing, especially water billing, as Governor Mike DeWine had put a sort of freeze on billing for water over the summer months. And finally, we were contacting other municipalities throughout the region to get them involved on email listing to get accurate and up-to-date information on the CARES Act money, if they would be eligible for that.
So going off of what Caitlin talked about, this is more of the work that we did over the summer. And a few of the key projects that we worked on. So our priorities changed as the internship went on. We did a lot of work, a lot of different work because of COVID-19 and the impact that COVID-19 had on these municipalities. As Caitlin mentioned, one of the projects that we spent quite a bit of time on was the broadband expansion research. Excuse me. We combed through the state legislature to find commonalities between each state's coding and see if there were any coordinations between plans that seemed to be more efficient or working for other states, things like that. In addition to the biweekly census data tracking, we also did a little bit of census marketing to the libraries in the MPP communities. We sent out flyers and information regarding the census, and we just wanted to communicate and emphasize the importance of filling out the census and what it can do for the communities in the next 10 years. We also did the child care resource guide to give out to the mayors so that they could find assistance for childcare because of COVID-19. A lot of the childcare facilities have closed in the state. And so that was just a quick resource that we were able to put together. We were able to give out CARES Act information and updates to the MPP communities and kind of offer a little more assistance and resources regarding the CARES Act and what it would be able to do for these communities, since some of them weren't fully aware of what that funding was able to be used for. And finally, we were also contacting Job and Family Services and community action agencies to gain knowledge on the utility assistance, specifically water billing, as Caitlin mentioned. And we worked closely with Mr. Jack Freck on that, and he even mentioned how difficult it was for us to get a hold of JFS offices and how that can be a problem for people trying to reach the offices and get the resources they need, especially during COVID. So that also provided some valuable research in that regard.
I'd like to jump in. I want to say kudos to Caitlin and Margot because first of all, COVID was not on the horizon when we were planning this whole thing, and they had to respond with flexibility to jump in and look at the rollout of the CARES funding, which was the funding from the federal government to municipalities. And the funding from the feds and the state was a disaster. The eligibility and all the criteria were poorly written. They were just abysmal to try and work your way through. And Margot and Caitlin did a great job of looking and helping us figure out how communities could use that money appropriately, where they could ask those questions. And that wasn't even in the planning initially when we set up this project. And the other part that wasn't in the planning, again, because of the pandemic, the census is important to Southeast Ohio. We're usually undercounted significantly. And we had these complete count committees with plans to go out door to door and with marketing campaigns, and all that got shot to hell when the pandemic started and everything had to be done on social media and in a new way. And again, Caitlin and Margot jumped in and were helpful in redirecting and orienting new responses and new ways of outreach and helping us make that a much more successful campaign than it previously had been. I know for Amesville, we doubled our participation in the census from 10 years ago. So Mayor Patterson, I'm sure you have some stuff to add.
As I try to unmute myself. No, I think you captured everything, Mayor Guzman. One thing I do want to add to it when it comes to the census, what Margot and Caitlin were able to do when we're looking down the barrel of losing money through things like community development block grant allocations, which is predicated upon a complete count. It was helpful, I think, for all entities within the Mayor's Partnership for Progress footprint when it comes to that. And again, echoing your sentiment about the CARES Act funding. So many mayors and city managers really did not know or were afraid to access the CARES Act money for fear of doing something wrong or not knowing everything that they were entitled to use that money for, because that goalpost kept moving on us. We never really knew what we could do and what we couldn't do. And Caitlin and Margot were great in helping provide information to all MPPs, so we knew what we could do.
As Margot and I were working on putting this presentation together, we were able to get some graphs to sort of indicate some of the census data and how there was sort of an uptick in that response rate as we went along.
You can see that it's from May to August, the beginning or the end of May to the end of August, there wasn't too much of a change, but towards the end of August, you do see an increase in response rate to the census, the weekly response rate overall.
And some of the outcomes that, some of the outcomes that Margot and I were able to help and do was some COVID information sharing, being able to contact other MPP counties to make sure that they were receiving CARES Act information so that they would be able to apply for it as they were eligible. Multiple counties did elect to receive more information on how they could use these funds. So that was very exciting when we were able to get some up-to-date contact information for some of these other mayors and city managers. And until Margot and I had contacted them, some were not on the email list or not getting up-to-date information on some of that money. So that was very good that we were able to get that done. And again, contacting JFS and CAP offices, we had some difficulty contacting some of the JFS offices. Some just were not able to either get to the phone or return our phone calls. And as Margot said, that could create some problems in accessing resources for the counties and the people that live there. When we were sharing this information with Mr. Freck, he ended up contacting the main JFS office, and he had used the document that we had running of, who we were able to contact, were we able to get a hold of someone, what information were they able to provide for us, and he used our examples of, this is how many times these interns have called this office. These are how many times they were not able to get a hold of someone. Somebody needs to be there because there are people who need this help. And tracking our census data, as Mayor Patterson and Mayor Guzman have said, the census is very crucial for counties getting the funding that they need. So making our census flyers and contacting libraries to sort of see if they would be able to either post or hand out flyers. Some of them said that they would not be able to hand out, but they would be more than happy to post around the library information on how and where to access the U.S. Census.
So working with the Mayor's Partnership for Progress was a wonderful opportunity, and it most definitely sparked a new interest in government for me, especially local government. So this group acts as a bipartisan group, and they really embody what it means to be for the people, and to be serving that civic duty to their communities. The work that they're doing is for their communities to prosper and flourish like we want our own hometowns to be. These are their homes. These people are who they're working for. It's not about political party or opinion. It's about the people that they serve. And with the political climate as opposing as it was during the internship, it was really, really valuable for me to be able to work with a group where both sides are working together. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It is, we are the mayors of these counties, and we are here to help our communities grow.
And for me, working for the Mayor's Partnership gave me a newfound appreciation for local government. Back in my hometown, my grandfather is part of our city's Planning and Zoning Commission, so I understand that there's a lot of work that needs to go into local government, and sometimes it is far more involved and complicated than some people may think that it is. I applied for the opportunity because of my interest in pursuing a government career, and working with the MPP really reaffirmed that for me. And since working with the MPP, I really wanted to further my knowledge and understanding of the Appalachian region, especially in Southeast Ohio. So I went and added on an Appalachian Studies certificate. So that way I can continue my learning and educational experience that I was able to start over the summer.
So some of the long-term benefits that Caitlin and I felt were really critical to the Mayor's Partnership for Progress that we were able to help them with was helping create a stronger MPP network. We were able to contact other municipalities who hadn't been able to receive information about the CARES Act. And like Caitlin said, it was really awesome to see how some of them were excited to be able to receive this information and get access to that, and just help to create a stronger network of all of the mayors and city managers from these cities and villages and communities. And as we talked about before, COVID-19 created different priorities for the mayors, and it did kind of switch around our agenda, so to speak, for the projects that we were going to work on. So it kind of bumped up the broadband assistant research, the census data tracking, and the COVID-19 assistance, CARES Act funding. Those projects took priority versus maybe the auditing project, which we did work a little bit on, but maybe not as much as the mayors would have liked us to during this time. Benefits focused on COVID-related relief and assistance to communities, like I said, the CARES Act funding, and our broadband expansion research, which we spent quite a bit of time on, especially since COVID has everything online now. School, doctors' offices, work. So many people are using the internet to do things that are a necessity for them. And with lack of access, especially in underserved areas, which would be the areas that the MPP counties are in, it is crucial that we can figure out a plan to be able to expand broadband and get it to those underserved communities.
Excellent. Well, thank you all so much. I want to thank all of the presenters from the Mayor's Partnership for Progress. I also want to give additional recognition to Jack Freck and Randy Lambert, the Mayor's Partnership for Progress, AmeriCorps Vista members that were mentioned, and Amista Lipput, the Executive Director of Mayor's Partnership for Progress, and the External Relations and Strategic Partnerships Director for the Voinovich School of Leadership and Public Service. I would like to now introduce the intern and community partner from the Wayne National